This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say our season will take your barbecue from good to great. Great seasonings such as the smoked, the discord, the old-fashioned, and the Mad Hatter. Can't go wrong with any of the great seasonings over at the madcanadianbbq.com. That is the madcanadianbbq.com. Be sure to check out the 3 box sets, the Just Send It, the Sweet Heat, and the Whole Hog to save even more on your favorite seasonings. And you can also save even more on top of that by using the promo code SloopCast10, that is SloopCast10 at checkout, for 10% more off of your entire order. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
This episode of the Sloopcast also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. Who is the Iron Bean Coffee Company? They're an Ohio-based Toledo, Toledo anyway, veteran-owned, small batch, roast-to-order, craft coffee company. Where can you go wrong with any of that? Well, Jared, do we know the beans are fair trade certified? Oh, yeah. The beans are fair trade. Yeah, but are they organic? They sure are. What? It's almost like this is a flawless coffee company. It's a coffee company based first and foremost on integrity. In fact, they have a coffee called the Integrity. It's a dark roast. It's the mainstay of the Iron Bean selection. Dark roasted, perfect for espressos. And if you're into dark roast, they also have the Fear No Evil, which is not just a dark roast, but a black roast. It's roasted to the brink of flames. Rich, black, void of all light, has the sheen of polished armor and the feel of cocoa butter. You can find that coffee and a lot more coffees at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. Did I do that in one breath?
I think you did. How's it going today, YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. What's up?
What you drinking
I'm
today,
sort
Jared?
of drinking coffee right now.
Ah.
The camera, she won't focus, but it's a Cool Beans by Jackie O's. It's a golden ale.
Nice.
With coffee, of course. Coffee golden ale. You know, I figured it's late, but it's not that late. So, yeah, best of both worlds. A little bit of upper, a little bit of downer. All right, let's rejoin our audio listeners. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well. How are you today, Jared?
I don't know. I feel very fast talky today.
Yeah?
That's it. I don't have a follow-up to that. Don't keep poking that. It's already dead.
You know who is not dead?
The Columbus Crew. Champions. Oh my goodness.
Champions.
What a day to be, what a week to be an Ohioan, what a day to be an Ohioan. You have the Columbus Crew MLS champions. You have
I need another one of these.
Yeah, you'll get one. They'll have the Ohio State Buckeyes, soon to be Big Ten champions. Everyone's hated team right now because the Big Ten, shocker. I don't remember if this had happened or if we just really expected it to happen last time we recorded. I honestly forget where that happened in the timeline, but the Big Ten changed the rule to allow the to allow the Ohio State Buckeyes into the Big Ten championship game. And people are upset. But those same people would be even more upset if they didn't. Because if they didn't, where would the Big Ten championship game be right now? It would be Northwestern versus Indiana, maybe. Because Indiana has a massive COVID outbreak right now. So either that game gets canceled or you have to fill another team in for Penn State. And since Indiana's out, since Ohio State wouldn't qualify under the old rule, guess who would be your Big Ten East representatives? 3-win Penn State. So
yikes.
All we did was we moved the articles of everyone making fun of the Big Ten up a week. Because instead of making fun of them this week for having Penn State in the championship game with a losing record, they just made fun of the Big Ten last week for changing the rules for Ohio State because Ohio State da-da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes it's the right thing to do.
One thing I don't understand, Jared.
It's a rule that they arbitrarily made up at the beginning of the season. They can arbitrarily change it. It's not a big deal.
Well, going to a broader scope, everybody complaining about Ohio State shouldn't be in because they only played 5 games, 6 games, whatever the case may be.
It will be 6 games. It will
be 6. Yes. But you know who they're not complaining about? Undefeated USC.
Well, it's because no one's putting USC in the playoff.
Well, here's something funny, and again, this is complete shit. I don't take it with any grain of salt, but according to this...
You would take it with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Okay.
According to this make-believe FPI poll here, the percentage to make the playoffs...
Sure.
Bama, 99%.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, 88%.
Okay.
Notre Dame, 69%.
Okay, nice.
And guess who comes in at number 4?
Clemson.
USC at 49%. And then Clemson at 45% and Texas A&M at 34%.
So USC does not belong in the playoff. And no, I'm not about to say due to a lack of football games.
Okay.
It's a lack of football games mixed with how they've been playing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think three of their 5 wins have been within 5 points. They have not been very decisive.
And all 3 of those games were against bad teams that they launched comebacks against to win. We aren't talking like Ohio State had some games that were closer than they should have been. They let Indiana get back into it late by letting them score some second half points. They let Penn State get back into it late by letting them score some second half points. USC, on the other hand, had to be the team that was scoring all those second half points to get back into the game, which is a significant difference in my mind.
Yeah. And
also,
let's not
USC
forget.
does not have a win over top 10 Indiana. USC does not have an opportunity to play top 15 Northwestern this week.
Couple of things about that. One, going back to you saying that Indiana needed to come back to that game to make it close.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ohio State was still up by 28-35 points with 3 turnovers still.
Yes.
They still look dominant with all the turnovers that they had as well.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Florida? You can turn the ball over several times and still be in the football game. It's possible.
As long as you don't throw a shoe.
As long as you don't throw a shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Ohio State was up 35-3 in the third quarter against Indiana.
But here's the second thing,
and that was with being. I know they committed 3 turnovers. Were they -3 or -2? I'm not sure if they had a turnover, but yeah, your point remains the same, Kyle.
But here's the other thing too. In defense to the Pac-12, in defense,
sure.
Where did the committee or anybody else rank the Pac-12 before they started the season? Way down. They
not Oregon.
Yeah, except for Oregon. Oregon just not having a good year as they would hope to have.
They had a bunch of key players opt out at the beginning of the season and not opt back in like what happened at many of the Eastern programs. So in a way, it's almost like the Pac-12 was set up to fail right from the start based off of the preseason rankings. Well, which is why preseason rankings is trash and should never happen. And yes and no. I know it doesn't really mean anything, but in a way, it kind of does. Well, it means something because it exists. Mm-hmm. But one, and this is not USC's fault, because Ohio State had to fight back from this as well. Let's not forget that Ohio State, before all of the shenanigans happened with the Big Ten, they were ranked number 2 in the country. Mm-hmm. And they had to fight and claw to get back. Well, they never did get back to number 2. They've not yet got back to number 2. Nope. So Ohio State was dropped from number 2 And I forget where they were and I don't care because I don't even forget. I think I actually just don't know. Like, where was Ohio State ranked? Because the AP, I don't know about the coaches, but the AP dropped them, all the Big Ten teams from the polls those first couple of weeks. So Ohio State was just not ranked for a moment. Now, after their first week back, I believe they were put back into the polls, but they weren't put back into the polls where they left from the preseason. So Ohio State had to fight up that hill as well. And don't come at me with brand names, because USC's brand is as strong as anyone else's brand, although maybe not true over the past couple years. USC, had they won their games more convincingly, i.e. not having to come back against really bad teams, and I'm not saying they even had to blow teams out, I'm just saying beat inferior teams by 2 touchdowns. Or at least beat up comfortably in those games in the fourth quarter, then I think they'd be better represented in the polls than they currently are. That's just my opinion. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know, but I don't know. I think I have. They're playing next week against Washington, who's 3-1, not ranked. What does that do for them? By the way, do we even know if USC wins that game? I don't know anything about Washington. Washington's only played 4 games. USC's only played 5 games. 2020 is weird. And when it comes to USC, who's 5-0, and Ohio State, who are also 5-0, you also have to take a look at how they won those games. Quite frankly, their track record. And I know under normal circumstances, we should not take 2019, we should not take the previous season into account. We really, really should never, ever do that. But if there was ever a year to do it, I think 2020 is the year to do it. We know what this team is capable of. There's no doubt. Kyle and I've been saying it since September. There's 3 teams and everybody else. Now, maybe Notre Dame has worked their way into that conversation. I don't think so. I think that Clemson knocks Notre Dame all the way the hell out of the playoff this weekend.
I don't think that's going to happen, but
well, we can talk about that.
We'll get to that.
We'll talk about that. But in my mind, and this has been the case since the beginning of the season, and I'm not off of this at all, there are 3 teams above all the other teams. It's Bama, Ohio State, and Clemson, in no particular order. Now, from September to now, I actually now believe that Ohio State's a little bit better than Clemson, although I don't necessarily know how well that translates to the field, because Clemson's going to pass all over Ohio State. That's just the reality of that situation. But I think Ohio State can also pass all over Clemson and can run all over Clemson, which were 2 things I was not sure about at the beginning of the season. Also, what I've learned since the beginning of the season is that I think Bama is in fact a notch above. I think maybe back in September I was saying it's Ohio State and Clemson, with Bama maybe a half notch below them. I now believe Bama is a half notch above them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a group of other teams who are also pretty good. And I still have Notre Dame in that team. Now I have Notre Dame as the first team in that second tier, but they're still to me in that second tier. And I think Clemson will prove me right this Saturday in that estimation. I forget why I even started talking about that. Point is that nowhere in any of that I'd mention USC.
Yeah, it's tough. It is 2020. It is what it is. I don't even if you want to give USC the benefit of the doubt and maybe put them into the playoffs here as a conference champion, if they were to win, I still think they would get demolished by the other 3 teams that you just mentioned too, Jared. We'll get into that here in a little bit.
Well, is it time to get into our playoff scenarios, or anything else you want to talk about first?
Yeah, there's one bit of news here that we kind of covered a little bit in last week's episode, on Friday's episode. They have an official commitment from Emeka Egbuka.
Absolutely. Ohio State.
Five-star wide receiver out of Washington has given his verbal commitment to the good guys at Ohio State.
Yeah, not a surprise. This is, although a commitment we were a little worried about minus 7 days ago. But by the time we had went to record last Thursday, a name we were feeling good about again, and a name who we had been feeling really good about for about 7 months. Now, did we waver? Did we get a little bit concerned there at the beginning of last week? Yes. There's a lot of positive buzz coming out of Oklahoma. Once that buzz sort of wore off, everything sort of came back to level, and Emeka Egbuka is now a Buckeye. Kyle, and this is an outrageous statement considering he's now only in his second year as an official Ohio State coach. Is Brian Hartline the GOAT?
Yeah. Yeah, definite. I have to pull up the exact number, but I believe he is now the number one. Nope. According to 24/7, he is the fifth.
Yeah, it's quantity over quality sometimes reigns in those rankings. But look at the names he's pulled in the last 2 years. He pulled in the best wide receiving core in the 2019 class. In the 2020 class, and is now about to do the same thing in the 2021 class.
He has average in the top 10 recruiting coaches.
Yeah.
Has the best average at 97.7.
Jeez. Wow. That's
and right behind him is Charles Huff, the running back coach for Alabama, at 97.27.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, what happened with Ohio State and J.C. Latham?" That's what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. The last 2 years, Brian Hartline has recruited to Ohio State Julian Fleming, a top 10 wide receiver, a top 5 wide receiver, depending upon which ranking you look at, maybe the number 1 wide receiver of the 2020 class. Emeka Egbuka, top 10 player in the entire country. Caleb Burton for the 2022 class. Now, 2022, we're a year out there. Stuff can happen, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But top 20 player in the entire 2022 class, number 2 wide receiver. 2020 class, Jackson Smith-Njigba, top 30 overall player, top 5 wide receiver, top in the 2020 class. G. Scott Jr. of the 2020 class, top 100 player, top 10 wide receiver. Jaden Ballard of Massillon, Ohio, by the way, 2021 class, top 100 overall, top 10 wide receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr., yes, his son, of the 2021 class, top 100 player, top 15 wide receiver. Mookie Cooper of the 2020 class, top 100 player, basically a top 15 wide receiver. He's number 16. That's insane.
Oh, and by the way, he's also a secondary recruit for Kyle McCord and CJ Stroud.
Oh, just two of the best
just
quarterbacks.
Put the little cherry on top.
Just 2 of the best quarterbacks from the last 2 years. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, guys, we went over our expectations for the early national signing period in our Friday episode. So if you want to hear, I think we're going to end our recruiting talk there as much as we'd like to continue, but there'll be time for that in the off season. And we devoted a fair amount of time to that in the Friday episode. If you want to go back and listen to that, we talk about our expectations and sort of preview the early signing period. It's just one episode back. Make sure to listen to that if you want to hear more recruiting talk. Okay, Kyle, let's talk some playoffs now.
All right. All right, where do you want to start with here? Do you want to do our projection? No, well, no.
No.
We
We'll
agree
save the
that we're
projections. Save the projections.
we're going to talk about who we believe are the top teams.
Yes.
The top teams here. So
wait a minute. Do you want to do that now? Or do you want to... let's do scenarios first.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that.
First, but actually, no, let's do that second. Can we talk about Dabo Swinney first?
I'd rather not.
Dabo Swinney out there recruiting hard against Ohio State to get into the playoffs.
I wonder why. Huh?
He's scared.
I wonder why.
He's scared. He's scared. Of course he's scared. Despite the fact... Kyle, do you want to read this?
Yeah. Despite the fact that the beginning of before this all started, he said it should not matter. He said it should not matter. He says here.
Go for the exact quote, Kyle. Go get it.
All right, here we go. Dabo was asked if he had a problem, again, before the season, asked if he had a problem with the potential college football playoff team playing less games. No. I think it's a crazy year. Who knows how many games anybody is going to have. I think if they started in November, I don't think that would have been possible. You got some of the best players in the country in that league. Those players fought and those coaches fought. They've worked their tails off.
So just so we're clear.
Dabo Swinney.
Just so we're clear. Before Dabo Swinney knew exactly how many teams Clemson was going to get to play, because back then, who knew? Maybe Clemson could have been the one sitting there with 5 or 6 wins only. So before he knew, he was like, nah, it shouldn't matter. 2020 is weird. And I agree with everything that the September, August. Yep. I don't know when this was. Let's say September.
Yeah, we'll say September. I forget which time, but
before everyone started playing.
Mm-hmm.
So 0-0 Dabo, September Dabo, I agree with. It's 2020. The teams can only play the games that they're available to play, and there needs to be a lot of exceptions and a lot of forgiveness given to teams based off of how many games they played. This is essentially what September Dabo was saying. December Dabo, on the other hand, is out here telling people that Ohio State didn't play enough games. Which just goes to show that despite his public persona, which is that he's basically, Dabo likes to pretend like he's Ned Flanders. That's who he likes to be in the media. Dabo is instead basically just Kmart Nick Saban. And I forgive Nick Saban for being Nick Saban, because Nick Saban owns the fact that Nick Saban doesn't pretend to be anyone else. He's a curmudgeon old man who puts football first. And you know what? He owns it. He's about it. So I forgive him for it. I can forgive someone for having different priorities in their life than me. I can forgive someone for maybe not having the best attitude or for not having patience for the media. I can forgive people for their flaws. I am also a human. I also have flaws. I whatever forgiveness I expect from other people, I expect me to also give that forgiveness to other people. What I can't stand, however, is when people are phonies about it. And that's what Dabo is. If you want to be this guy, don't then pretend to be someone else. Which, if I'm being real honest with everyone, is why I don't put Tressel on the same mountaintop that a lot of Ohio State fans do. Because Tressel had a bit of that Ned Flanders in front of the camera covering for Terrell Pryor behind the scenes aspect to him as well.
Yeah. Another coach I would put on there too, Dan Mullen.
I think Dan Mullen also kind of. I'll give Dan Mullen's a little closer. He's a little closer to Nick Saban in owning the fact that he's an asshole.
Well, he doesn't take responsibility for his losses too. Like the first loss to Texas A&M, he was all, well, if we are able, if Texas A&M can have these many fans in the stadium, I want this many fans in my stadium too.
Yeah, he was actively pushing for 100% attendance in the Swamp, and then got COVID a few days later. He also kind of incited a player fight at one point this season, and then he basically turned his post-game press conference into, well, if Ohio State only gets to play this many games, why do I have to play this many games? Which is pretty hilarious considering that Ohio State does play, under normal circumstances, an extra conference game every year when the SEC doesn't. When Ohio State is playing a conference game, Kyle, I lost your camera. Kyle? Are you with me, Kyle? Oh boy. Here we go. Technical difficulties. YouTube, I'm officially just talking to YouTube right now. This won't make it into the audio podcast. I'm down a Kyle. Kyle. This is just me talking. Let's see. Sorry, YouTube, working on it. Kyle's internet went down. He's rebooting his modem. You know what, guys? What we're going to do real quick, I'm going to slide me back over into this frame. We're going to do an ad break while we wait for Kyle. That's what we're going to do. So, let's do the ad break while we wait for Kyle and his internet reboots. So first, let's talk about the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Right here, I got the Cajun. Everyone knows what Cajun tastes like. Bring some of that Cajun flavor home. The camera's not going to focus. Technology hates me. Our pets' heads are falling. That's the second podcast in a row I made that joke. The Discord. This is the spicy sweet. This is in the sampler box that Mad Canadian calls his wing box. It's the Sweet Heat box. That's what it's called. The Sweet Heat box also has the Four Horsemen, which is a bit more of a salty, spicy mix. Let's see. If you're looking for a gift for someone who does not cook too often, then I would actually probably go ahead and recommend the Just Send It box, which includes the Sonoran Heat, the Cajun, and the Smoked. And also the S&P Bud, so that's 4. And those are amazing starter packs because they can kind of go on anything. That's why I really like them. I always refer to the S&P Bud as the potato cheat code. It really doesn't matter what kind of potato you're making, whether it be a baked potato or a mashed potato, some pan-fried tomatoes, hash browns. Really doesn't matter. I go with the S&P Bud, absolute potato cheat code right there. And the camera still hates me, but that's okay. Make sure to check out the Mad Canadian social media pages to find out what's the newest thing with the Mad Canadian. And make sure to use promo code SloopCast10, that's SloopCast10 at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. That's the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered. All right. Kyle just sent me a message. Let me go back to Kyle. Oh, there he is. Let's leave and join. There's Kyle coming into the meeting. Hey, there he is. Kyle, I just did the Mad Canadian read because I was killing time waiting for you to come back. So I just did that. So now I'm going to do the coffee read with the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company is a hand-roasted micro batch roast to order. You're getting the freshest beans possible. Roast to order coffee company. Some of their most popular flavors, including the Fierce, the Rage Against the Dying of the Light, and the Ride or Die, are available in K-Cup if that is your thing. Many of the beans are available both in pre-ground and whole bean. You get free shipping over $50, and you have the opportunity to buy the 6-pack, which is kind of a sampler pack. Instead of getting one big bag or maybe 2 big bags of a full pound of coffee, the sampler bags, which are about this size, are a 1/4 pound. These are 4-ounce coffees. So these are tremendous especially if you're shopping for someone else, or if maybe it's your very first order with the Iron Bean Coffee Company. You can go ahead and do the sampler pack so you can find out which ones you like the most so far. I'm more of a medium roast guy. That's just my personal preference. That's why I think my 2 favorites so far are the Ride or Die, as previously shown. And also, I got the cast iron in one of those little sampler bags. And I tell you this much, the next time I go to buy a big bag from the Iron Bean Coffee Company, is probably going to be a big thing of the cast iron. I really, really liked that. There are also flavored coffees available if that's more your speed. But a lot of a great selection of both dark and medium roast. And there's also the Loki, which is a sort of a medium light roast, if that's more your speed. You can find all of that and more at the Iron Bean Coffee Company. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. Kyle, I kept the boat afloat while you were gone.
Thank you. Good job. Good job.
All right.
All right. We ready to talk about
scenarios?
Scenarios. Yes.
So let's just go ahead. This is an Ohio State podcast. Let's just go ahead and assume that Ohio State has a good win. That doesn't have to be a blowout. Let's just say
All right. So they're currently, as we're recording this, they are a 20-point favorite. So let's say they win by 14 points. 14
points. That's a good win.
Good win.
By the way, I want the over in that game. I'm calling my shot early on that.
All right.
Okay, so let's say that happens.
Yep.
Now let's say that Alabama wins, and I think previous to this week it would have mattered how Alabama won, but with Florida losing to LSU in #Shoegate, I think it no longer matters.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I kind of think this game doesn't matter at all. The only way I think this game matters is if Florida somehow absolutely blows out Alabama, which I don't think is a thing that's going to happen.
They need to cause a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, that's essentially what would have to happen. And if Florida absolutely blew out Alabama, then maybe they could get into the playoff, but not even then. The only thing that would really for sure cause in my mind is forcing Alabama out, but it would have to be a real embarrassment to force Alabama out or to get Florida in. It would have to just be a complete bludgeoning, like what UNC did to Miami over the weekend. It would have to basically be one of those.
Yep.
So let's just say Alabama wins. It doesn't matter how. Okay, so in this scenario, I believe 100% that Alabama and Ohio State are in. And we can talk about seeding in a little bit. The biggest thing, the biggest game with the biggest amount of influence this week is Notre Dame and Clemson. Kyle, is it possible for both of these teams to make the playoff?
Yes.
I agree. Describe the scenario in which both Clemson and Notre Dame make the playoff, solidifying our top 4. By the way, let's just say it's a 3 overtime game and then someone wins. So let's just say that. A hyper close game.
So if it's a hyper close game,
does that solidify the top 4? We can talk about seeding at a later time. Does that solidify the top 4 in a 3 overtime win by a field goal game?
That's tough. That's really tough because you have a 2-loss team.
Yes, you would.
you would have let's say Clemson would lose.
Yes.
Clemson loses. That's a 2-loss team getting into the playoffs, which has not happened.
Who are you putting in to replace them?
It's got to be whoever's at 5. So at this point, if it's Texas A&M and they look good against Tennessee,
does it matter what they do against Tennessee? Really? All they have to do against Tennessee is not lose. I don't think it matters, honestly. And Kyle, I would tend to agree. Can we look at Texas A&M for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at Texas A&M. They beat Auburn by 11 points.
Auburn's not a good team.
Auburn's a bad team. They literally just fired their coach. So anyone out there who's trying to tell us, oh no, Auburn's a quality win. No, they're not.
No, just stop right there.
LSU, I know LSU just beat Florida on the back of a bunch of turnovers. I get it, but they beat LSU by only 11 points or 13 points.
How many points did Alabama beat LSU?
A lot.
A lot. And how many points did Alabama beat Texas A&M by?
A lot.
A lot.
The exact number, quick math, would be 27? 28. 28 points.
So this is the same kind of argument as with Ohio State with their one bad loss where they lost by a lot.
In defense, this was not Iowa or Purdue. This was Alabama, to be fair.
Okay.
To be fair.
Okay. All right. To be fair. But you know what? If you're supposed to be a playoff team,
sure,
you're not keeping up with a playoff team.
Kyle, that's a good point because with Purdue or Iowa, you can make the trap game argument. You can make they're obviously the better team, but they just happened to lose that night argument in the case of Ohio State. But no one's walking, especially since week 1, they played Vanderbilt before, which by the way, they only beat Vanderbilt by 5 points. And then you walk into Alabama. By the way, I'm not even going to crap on them for beating Vanderbilt by only 5. You had Bama the next week. It was the very first game during a chaotic offseason. You beat Vanderbilt. I don't care. I'm not going to trash on you for having a weird game in week 1. I'm not going to do it.
And it was a close one, a lot closer than anticipated against Arkansas. They beat Arkansas by 11 points. And how many points did Alabama just beat Arkansas by this last weekend?
Not as many as they could have had they kept trying.
A lot.
Yeah. Point is that Texas A&M is not that great. I get that they're in the SEC West and they went 7-1, and under normal circumstances during normal years, that would be incredibly impressive. It really, really would be. The SEC West is normally a complete powerhouse. But Auburn was bad this year. LSU was a joke this year. Neither of the Mississippi schools were any dang good. It was just Bama. And Texas A&M was... they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, Texas A&M is bad, actually. They're not bad. But they also aren't a top 5 football team.
Yeah, I think this goes back to what you first said. There are 3, maybe 4 teams if you include Notre Dame there. And then it's a big drop off from right there.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me feel like even if Clemson does lose,
which was the point I was trying to move you towards,
I think you would still keep Clemson in. If it's like a close field goal game, overtime game, I think you would have to keep Clemson in. The more that we're talking about this, the whole scenarios here. Now, if Notre Dame just wins outright by like 2 touchdowns or more,
yeah,
I don't think
Clemson's done.
But Clemson's done. You put Texas A&M in because I don't see who else you can put in there. I really don't.
Can I throw some names out there?
Oh, maybe Iowa State. Iowa State would actually be a good one. It is 2 losses, but the caveat with them, though, conference champion. That would be the little caveat on top that I think would put them above Texas A&M, despite them having one more loss.
They feel a bit like Ohio State in 2015, where we have to bring back the albatross word. Yeah. Like they lost to a Sun Belt team.
But you know what? Let's just put USC in there, an undefeated conference champion in there.
Kyle, we're forgetting about our neighbors or my neighbors to the south anyway.
They keep dropping Cincinnati.
Your sister is an alumni there, man. Come on, I have to bring up Cincinnati.
I know.
Undefeated.
But the committee keeps dropping them every week, it seems.
I know. Coastal Carolina's sitting there. That's my problem is people keep talking about, oh, well, how does Ohio State make the playoff if da-da-da-da-da? I'm sitting here making the case that who the hell do you replace Clemson with if Clemson loses? Who's the 4th team? Who is it? I don't see it. I don't see a 4th team. I love the story of Coastal Carolina and I love the story of Cincinnati, but if you honestly believe either of those teams could stay on the field with Ohio State or Bama or Clemson, you're kidding yourself.
Because at this point here, taking that Alabama's going to win here, who's going to be the one to get stomped by Alabama in the first game there? Because I really think here that if Ohio State wins, doesn't matter to me. Does not matter if Clemson or Notre Dame wins. Ohio State will move up to 3. Will play the winner of the Clemson Notre Dame game.
Yeah,
in the semifinal.
This was a thing I talked about with Tom Orr during the Friday edition of the Morning Scoop. No matter what happens, I fully believe that Ohio State will be ranked either number 2 or number 3 in the final. Not this Tuesday. They might be 3. They might be 4. I don't care. This Tuesday doesn't matter. I am once again not going to watch. I haven't watched any of the playoff selection shows this year. I don't plan on it this Tuesday either. Ohio State will be ranked number 2 or number 3. What the committee will not do, and they claim up and down, they claim up and down and sideways and left and right, that they don't pay attention to the matchups. They just will put number 1 at number 1, number 2 at number 2, number 3 at number 3, number 4 at number 4. And they pay no attention to the matchups. Bull shit. If you think if the things line up just right, if let's say Clemson wins a squeaker, a 3 overtime, 3-point game against Notre Dame, if you think there is, and let's say Ohio State has a real crappy win against Northwestern, maybe that should put us in a scenario in which Clemson and Notre Dame are number 2 and number 3 at some order, and Ohio State's number 4. The committee will not set up Notre Dame Clemson number 3 for the season. They simply won't do it.
Nope.
Ohio State, if they beat Northwestern, I'm almost certain will be number 3.
Yes.
Almost certain will be number 3 in the finals. They're more likely to be number 2 than number 4. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, look at it right now. You got 2 and 3 going at it. Winner would be the conference champion. They'll be at 2. One of those 2 will be at 2. And the one is going to drop down behind a conference champion team in Ohio State, which is why I think they'll go to 3. And then if Clemson wins, Notre Dame would still be 4th. I think that's going to be best case scenario if you are in the committee right now. Is you're hoping for a Clemson win, but keep it close. Keep it close to have the argument that Notre Dame is still one of the 4 top teams, which I think they are based off of every team that I'm seeing here. That's what the committee is really hoping for, is a close victory for Clemson. That way you can go Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
All right, Kyle, we have some scenario questions from our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Stewart_E4USFet. Let's say Florida loses to 3-5 LSU. Yeah, let's say that. By the way, he sent this yesterday at 11:20 p.m. He's being facetious. And then goes on to beat Alabama in the SEC championship. Then Clemson beats Notre Dame. What will your final four be in that order? Also, Ohio State beats Northwestern handedly. Does that put Florida back in?
Clemson would be 1.
Yeah. Ohio State would be 2.
Ohio State would be 2. I think you would put...
Could Ohio State be number 1 in that scenario?
I don't see any scenario, Jared, where they would put Ohio State 1. I don't.
Is it possible that Bama remains number 1 in that scenario?
No. It's going to be, if in this scenario right here, if Alabama loses, Clemson or Notre Dame would be number 1. Now you can argue, well, should Alabama be 3 or should Ohio State be 3? I don't know. that one's going to be the difficult one. I mean, I think a conference champion should be graded higher than a non-champion. So I think Ohio State should be 3 and then Alabama 4. So that would be, well, Ohio State would be 2. Yeah, that's
so you're saying
the champion. So in this scenario, Clemson would be
Clemson 1, Ohio State 2.
You could probably put Alabama 3. It's
and
probably what I would say.
Well, of course, they're not going to put Notre Dame 4.
Nope.
Because they're not going to set up a Clemson Notre Dame rematch. They aren't going to do it at 2 and 3, and they aren't going to do it at 1 and 4. And don't forget, in this scenario, Florida beat Bama. So would that put Florida and not Notre Dame? Because Florida's an SEC, is a conference champion, and Notre Dame isn't. Would that put Florida at number 4? Because I think it would.
Because I keep seeing that Florida potentially is going to be like at 10 or even higher than 10 for when the next rankings come out. So then you're pretty much saying you got someone who's outside top 10 going all the way to the 4th ranking then.
That's a big jump.
Tough, especially when you have undefeated teams there like Cincinnati.
Uh-huh. Oh, so now you're talking about Cincinnati like it's not crazy. You know, I'm tired of your flip-flopping, Kyle. Florida, we obviously won't know what the playoff committee thinks until Tuesday, but according to the AP, Florida is now number 11 after losing to LSU.
And it's not a good loss either.
No. They were 23-point favorites in that game.
23-point home favorite.
I really don't know how much home matters.
They had quite a few fans there.
Yeah, I know, but it's not the same.
In the fog, Jared, though.
The fog. Oh, Kyle, I forgot about the fog. You know what? Yeah, let's just put Florida in. I forgot about the fog.
All right. Another scenario here, Jared.
This one's from Austin, our buddy Austin. If the predicted scenario occurs, Clemson, Bama, Ohio State all win. So that's Clemson, Bama, Ohio State. Mm-hmm. We know it'll be Bama 1, Clemson 2, OSU 3, Notre Dame 4. I don't know that it's Notre Dame 4. I think it will be, but if Clemson slaughters Notre Dame, maybe not. But probably. But if Notre Dame wins, who gets the 4th spot? I think that's a thing we were just talking about. Yeah. I still think it's Clemson because I just don't know who you replace them with. Maybe I'm shocked and they actually put in Cincinnati. I think it probably should be. I don't think a 2-loss team belongs in there.
What if Cincinnati, currently they're a 13.5-point favorite. Say they win by 21 points.
Sure.
21 plus points there.
I just don't see it happening. I think it probably should happen, but I don't think it will. I still think that A 2-loss Clemson gets that number 4 spot, and their punishment for losing twice is having to play Bama in round 1. And quite frankly, from a purely like easiest road standpoint, if you're Ohio State, you want to play Notre Dame. You want to play Texas A&M, so you want to play. But I don't know if Texas A&M is going to happen.
I feel like Notre Dame's defense is better this year than Clemson from what I've seen throughout the year.
Yeah, potentially, but not good enough to stop Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's Ohio State's defense.
At least if you're
Ohio
Ohio
State's
State
defense is not very good this year, but their offense is so explosive that I don't know if it matters.
But Ohio State could run against Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson struggled running against Notre Dame. Ohio State could struggle as well too. I feel like Ohio State would be able to move the ball easier on both phases, passing and running against
Ohio
Clemson.
State's run blocking better now than they were at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
And in a playoff game, you basically take the actual quarterback, running back read option and actually make it an option again. Ohio State you can tell if Ohio State's taking an opponent seriously by if they're allowing Justin Fields to actually keep the ball on a read option. That's their tell. And against Notre Dame, they're going to let Justin Fields keep the ball on the read option, which makes that read option 3-4 times more effective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is from Young Kiz Midwest. With the recent loss to LSU to Florida, do you think there is now a distinct possibility UC has a chance to make the 4th spot, or are we already solidified Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State? Again, something we've largely already talked about. I think what you need to open up that 4th spot is a complete bludgeoning. Ohio State losing is actually the easiest way to open up that 4th spot, but we're not talking about that. We're not putting that on the table. If a complete bludgeoning of either Notre Dame or Clemson, one of those teams has to just get Oklahoma straight out of the playoffs. So I think that 4th spot could come open. It's entirely possible. I don't think we're 100% set on our 4 teams. I just don't know that last team to come in is Cincinnati or not. Maybe it should be. I just don't know that it is. I really just don't think it is. Again, I'm not going to make the case that they shouldn't be, but I got to figure they put in Texas A&M or Iowa State, USC. They'd put in.
The more I keep thinking about it, I think if you have I think in this scenario here, I just think you have to take in consideration of a conference champion. I really do. I really do.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that 4th spot will be incredibly entertaining if Notre Dame or Clemson gets bludgeoned or if Ohio State loses. Because I have no idea what happens to that 4th spot.
Yep. But I'll tell you what, I know you're not going to watch on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they do it. This ranking really does set up for who has a shot for next weekend.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm still
keep a real close eye on Iowa State and Cincinnati on where they're going to be, right? And Florida too. I mean, you could put Florida in there too. How far are they going to drop?
Okay. Let's see. One more in the playoff scenario questions. This one's from Stewart_E4USVet. What is your opinion on why it was never seemed to be an issue about the number of games played to get into the college football playoff until Ohio State was ranked in a spot to make it? Because the number's never been this egregiously different before. Ohio State has won 5 games. Alabama has won 10. That's twice as many. I believe Ohio State belongs in the playoff. I've talked for an hour about how I believe that to be true. We can't sit here and act like it doesn't matter that they've played half of. This is why Kyle and I have put this. Kyle, you said early in the show, there's no way Ohio State gets ranked number 1. That's a thing you said.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they've only played in 5, will be 6 games, plays into that. Yes, it kind of disqualifies them from the number 1 spot.
Yes, I think so.
It doesn't disqualify them from the playoff, but it matters. We can't sit here and pretend like it doesn't matter that they've played half of the games that Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson have played. We can't act like it doesn't matter. It matters.
It does.
It's not disqualifying, but it hurts. Okay. Let's see, Kyle, get this. Shocker running over. Mm-hmm. So a lot of coaching carousel stuff is happening. We were going to talk about it, but I think I'm going to nix it from the show. You agree, Kyle?
Yep.
Can I just say this real quick on the coaching carousel? Fickle's not going to Illinois.
Yep.
Okay. It's not happening. Lovie Smith was fired. Fickle's not going to Illinois. Stop it. All right. Some more Ask Sloopcast questions not pertaining to the playoff. Duncan from the Discord asks, the coaching carousel has begun. Who should we expect to lose to better opportunities? Any Ohio State coaches, Kyle, you think are on the brink of leaving?
Ooh.
You always have to keep an eye on Kevin Wilson.
Yeah.
He deserves a spot. But the defensive staff, I think, is pretty solid. I mean, Don Brown's going to leave. Not Don Brown. God forgive me. I'm going to blank on. I can't ever pull names straight from my head. I can't pull names straight from my head. I'm terrible at that, Kyle. I don't know. Are there any coaches that Ohio State's could lose off of this staff this year?
I think what you said is probably the biggest name. I'm trying to pull a list of all the coaches. That way I kind of go through all of them here, and I'm struggling. Apologize. I'm struggling to find them all here. All right. So, Tony Alford.
I don't know.
Gary Combs.
No.
Nope. Hartline.
No. Said he's staying at Ohio State long term.
Yep. Larry Johnson.
No. He'll be a Buckeye till he decides he's no longer coaching.
Greg Madison.
Greg Madison will be a Buckeye, and that's who I meant to say earlier. And again, I apologize.
Coach Stud.
I almost feel like at some point Greg Madison's going to have to leave so that. Wait a minute, you said Coach Stud?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's not going to get poached. If he leaves, it will be because Ohio State chooses it.
Coach Washington.
Yeah, Al Washington's a name I keep an eye on. I think at some point Greg Madison leaves and Coach Washington becomes a co-defensive coordinator along with Coach Combs.
Mm-hmm.
If that does not happen sooner rather than later, he might leave and become a defensive coordinator elsewhere, but I don't see him leaving and becoming a head coach anytime soon.
Mm. Coach Matt Barnes.
I don't see that happening.
And Coach Wilson.
Yeah, you always have to keep an eye on Kevin Wilson.
Yep. All right. I think those are all the assistant coaches there.
You forgot one, but that's okay. I don't think he's leaving either.
Corey Dennis.
Yeah, Corey Dennis. The only way Corey Dennis is leaving is if Urban takes a job somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
In which case he would follow Urban. All right. Austin Information asks, who was the last great linebacker at Ohio State? And what's stopping from Ohio State having a linebacker at that level again? It seems though the last few years we've had players like Browning, Gant, etc. come through, and yet weren't able to get elite play. Ohio State had a setback in their coaching ranks in Coach Bill Davis, who I think really hurt some of the development of the players. I think the linebacker play has actually been pretty good this year. I think that Tough is athletically limited, but does the absolute most he can with the skills he has, with the talent he has. I think Pete Warner's been very good this year. I think Baron Browning's been very good this year. I think that they had a developmental setback when Bill Davis was made the linebackers coach.
So here's
but
a
I
list
think
of,
the play has been solid at the linebacker position this year.
Here's the list. So who's the last great linebacker? Shazier. He played until 2013. Darren Lee.
Darren Lee was great. I would count him among the great Ohio State linebackers.
So that was 2015. McMillan. I think McMillan could have been great. He was good. He was good.
I think you're also forgetting about Jerome Baker.
I'm just going down this list that I'm pulling up here. You have Malik Harrison. I think
Malik Harrison was very good, but if we're talking about capital G great, probably not. But very, very good.
I don't know. I think the last great was probably Darren Lee, in my opinion.
Maybe I'm letting Jerome Baker's pro career, which is going excellently. I don't think maybe he didn't play a ton at Ohio State because he was behind Darren Lee and like that amazing core of linebackers that Darren Lee played with. Kyle, there's a name in there where Darren Lee, we're missing names. I know we're missing names here. I know we're missing names.
Those are some that I can think of.
Who played alongside Darren Lee on the national title team? Or what if you just Googled All-American linebackers Ohio State? You guys got to stop asking us questions that force us to do random name recall, because it's obviously not a skill of ours.
Nah. It's going to take me a little bit to find this. Let's find another question real quick here while I'm looking that up.
Stewart_E4 US Vet asks, Indiana's defensive coordinator just got poached. Will they be as good next year? With this being said, will Indiana be relevant next year, or will the conference be back to normal? Indiana still be good next year. One of the things I saw from Indiana, not this recent week, but the week previous, was that they lost Penix, and I sort of thought they were going to collapse, and they didn't. They put in their next quarterback, who was also pretty good, came in and played really well. Losing a defensive coordinator always sucks, especially at a place like Indiana where you don't necessarily have the budget to just turn around and go get someone else who's great, like Ohio State has a tendency to do. But I don't think Indiana was just a defensive coordinator in the same way that I don't think that they proved to just be Penix. So I think Indiana has a bit of a stay of relevancy in the Big Ten. Not to say that it's long-term, not to say that it's going to be like this for now on, but I think they have the core of players to be relevant for the next couple years. And if they can take that relevancy and turn it into recruiting, then that they can start to build a nice program. Part of the problem with Indiana trying to build a nice program through recruiting is you have Luke Fickell in Cincinnati, who's eating up great Ohio talent. They got a linebacker recruit this last week who had Big Ten offers, lots of Big Ten offers, not Ohio State, but lots of Big Ten offers. And he went to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's for real. As long as Luke Fickell is there, Cincinnati will be for real. And his gobbling up of the second tier Ohio talent is going to have a huge impact on the Michigan State, Penn State, Indiana's, Illinois of the world. You essentially have a brand new team doing Big Ten recruiting who's not in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find a list of All-American linebackers, Kyle?
Well, I think the other linebackers is probably Malik Harrison and Joshua Perry.
Joshua Perry. Yeah, we got to include Joshua Perry on that list. Again, sort of the opposite of Jerome Baker. We can't let a lack of an NFL career affect or cloud our judgment of what they did. Not that Darren Lee's necessarily had the best NFL career either, but
I think the other linebacker that was in that 2014 class or that 2014 title team was Curtis Grant.
Curtis Grant. Yeah, yes. And that was a 5-star guy who never quite got to that potential. But Darren Lee, Darren Lee or Jerome Baker, I would include among greats at the position. I thought McMillan was really damn good too. I think we had defensive issues that didn't allow McMillan to play, did not allow him to produce the way he was capable of doing. Mm-hmm. So I think he probably should have been on that list, and it's not his fault that he might not be.
Yep. All right, let's answer these last ones real quick here, Jared. Why does it seem, this one from Stuart, why does it seem as though we are the most hated program? Not only fan base, but media outlets seem to dislike us. One media outlet.
I honestly don't think that. I think most fan bases think that ESPN hates them the most. That's not an exclusive. See, because if Herb Street or Fowler or one of the ESPN guys says something critical of Clemson, you go, thank you. Finally, someone said it. But when they say something critical of Ohio State, haters, why does everyone hate us? And it's that a lot of the times I will see Ohio State fans on Twitter complaining about Ohio State. Complaining about Ohio State. And then one of the national, let's just say ESPN guys, goes and says the exact same thing that they were just bitching about on Twitter 2 hours before. And then they'll get mad at them for saying the exact same thing that they were just saying 2 hours before. And I get it's a bit of the thing of I'm allowed to talk shit about my family, but you're not allowed to talk shit about my family. I get emotionally where that comes from. But I think that's more of our perception than it is a reality.
Yeah.
And again, we can't pretend like Ohio State playing half the number of games as Alabama doesn't matter. Now, there are people out there who are trying to turn it into a death sentence, that it disqualifies Ohio State, so they're taking it to an extreme. But we also can't pretend like it doesn't matter. Yeah. So we just because they're living on this extreme of it being a disqualifier doesn't mean we have to live on the extreme of it doesn't matter, because it does matter and it does factor in. But the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's not disqualifying, but it also doesn't not matter.
All right. One other question here. Are we able to talk shit to Clemson fans even if we haven't beat them? How do they defend last year's win and then say, don't bring up the refs?
I mean, they won the game. We can be mad at the refs, but the fact of the matter is that they won the game. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State is 0-3 last 3 games against Clemson, and we just have to live with that.
Yep, you do.
We can be mad at the refs. We can be mad at this. We can be mad at that.
It's just like Ohio State versus the SEC in bowl games. How long we had to put up with that?
There was a pretty long losing streak until it wasn't. Ohio State hadn't won a national title for decades.
That's why there's a lot of Ohio State fans. It's like, bring on Clemson this year.
I said it on the Morning Scoop on Friday.
Yep.
It might not be the easiest path to the national title, but I won't be mad about it either.
Yep. The crew had like the toughest route too, and look where they're at.
That's right. One more from Stuart. Why is Army superior to Navy? I'll hang up and listen to your question. Listen, Stuart. We have a few veterans in our Sloopcast family, and I'm not allowed to pick sides. I know I think some of them are Army. I know that our good friend over at Iron Bean Coffee is a Marine, and I think that they technically fall under the Navy side of the Army-Navy rivalry. So you're not going to hear me say anything bad about the Navy. I'm just going to say, go America.
I will say that in this particular day, Army was better than Navy.
Yes, that is factually accurate. Not only that, they were 15 points better.
But I will say, Navy is always playing at a disadvantage because it is on land.
Well, see, there you go.
All right.
Stuart, you have 2 more questions in here, but they're relevant to Northwestern, so we're going to hold them for the Wednesday episode.
All right.
All right, we have national games here. No, let's just skip them. We're running over. I'll say that I am now 1 pick ahead in the Sloop picks, as I went 5-2 this week over Kyle at 4-3, and also Dinger was at 4-3. So Sean Brawley, you're still the only person to win a T-shirt off of us this year.
Hey, good job, Jared. We did well this year.
We have hey, we got one more, buddy.
We do.
We got one more. We got championship weekend still.
All right.
So you have not won yet, and I haven't checked the notes yet. But I know we have
You
someone.
haven't won yet. You haven't won yet.
What'd I say?
Me? I haven't won yet. Yes.
I haven't won yet.
To me.
I have. You have.
You said
we
you haven't won yet to me.
So I said you haven't. I haven't. Who can prevent forest fires? Okay. What just happened? I know we have someone else lined. I forget. I don't have the notes in front of me. Someone else is lined up to do Sloop picks next week, so we'll be doing that. I have 1 week to defend my crown against Kyle.
You can't defend if you've never won.
My proverbial crown, my projected crown,
We're missing the Ohio State basketball game, Jared.
All right, let's end this show.
I got nothing in Kyle's corner, but again,
all right,
Columbus Crew with their last game at Met-Free Stadium. Go out
buddy.
with a bang there.
Yeah, buddy. Everyone, be sure to check out our T-shirt stores. I'm currently wearing, this is from the 7071 store, It's All Ohio, and it always has been T-shirt. It's Earth, but it's just Ohio. It's a meme. If you don't know it, it's great. But you can buy that in the 7071 store. You can join us in our Discord. Our Discord was super active and a lot of fun this weekend. If you're not joining our Discord, do so now. If you joined it at one point, but there wasn't that many people in there, and so maybe you gave up on it, sign back in. We got a lot of people going in there. It was super active this weekend. A lot of fun. Guys, Patreon. I need to talk to you guys about the Patreon. And then this is the last thing I do. We have set up a new goal in Patreon. Kyle and I have talked about, and we've decided to put it in your hands as listeners. We've talked about turning the Sloopcast at the start of season 7 through the football season next year, turning it into a Monday through Friday, a daily podcast. We'd shorten the episodes down to like a half hour, 40 minutes. So we would do more shorter episodes, a new episode 5 days a week. And we're talking about adding a second show. So that'd be 2 shows a week during the off season. But we need your help. We set up a Patreon goal. It is set at $550 a month. This includes, by the way, money already provided to us by the Iron Bean Coffee Company and the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Their totals are already in that number. I think we're currently pulling in, I think our cut is like $330 a month, and the actual donation before the Patreon stuff is like $360 a month. So we're talking about increasing it $200. So if everyone listening went and signed up for the $3 tier. We'd be there in a moment. And then you're getting us 2 days a week during the off season, plus a daily show during the football season, starting season 7.
Ooh.
So, but it's up to you guys. If you're already donating, please consider donating more. If you've a long-time listener, it's only $3 a month. And it gets you access, early access to the episodes, access to the premium channels in the Discord channel or in the Discord server, a lot of other really cool benefits. You get first selection to be a part of the Sloop Picks. You get to be a part of the online Sloop Picks. I don't think we're doing a bowl pick thing this year because I don't know what the bowl games even look like this year. But next year when we're doing the bowl pool, you can be a part of the bowl pool. There's a lot of exclusive events and online stuff that you get to be a part of, including the $3 a month Discord access. There's also free sections in the Discord, by the way, but the premium channels are included in that $3 a month. You get a lot of great stuff, including like cooking tips from the Mad Canadian himself in the Discord server. Lots of cool stuff available at just $3 a month. That's it, $3 a month. Kyle and I have already begun purchasing new equipment for the Sloopcast in order to just up the quality of the show, and that's sort of what's motivating us maybe to push some more people into donating to maybe help buy some of that stuff or pay for some of that stuff that we've already bought. So I'm not trying to hold you ransom on that, but as far as us then putting in the time that is required to do a daily show, we kind of need to be able to justify that time with money. So again, we can start doing a daily version of the podcast starting next season if we can increase that Patreon goal to $5.50 a month. So if more Sloopcast is a thing you want, please consider helping us make that happen. So you can figure out how to do that, and you can sign up for that at patreon.thesloopcast.com. And if you have any questions about any of that, if you have questions about anything, you can ask us in the Discord server, which again is mostly free. There are premium channels, but the Discord server is mostly free. Or you can just email me, sloopcast@gmail.com, and I can answer any questions you might have. And that's all of that I feel like doing. Kyle already did Kyle's Corner. Tonight's ending music will be by a band called McCaffrey, so you can check out all of that stuff down in the show notes. So with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. And what else, Kyle?
And support your local Columbus Crew team.
I was going to say local soccer club, but that works too. I was trying to stay on rhythm, on task, but hey, we'll stick with it. Once again, this is McCaffrey. What's up, YouTube?
I need a new one soon.
Yes.
With the new logo on it too.
Speaking of new, we are approaching our last days in this podcast studio. On my side, anyway. Gonna be moving this down into the basement. I don't know if it'll be by Wednesday or not, or by the Friday episode or not, but that's a thing that will be happening eventually. So we're in the last days of this camera angle. So that's fun.
Yes.
Just have to wait for that new desk and that new computer and all that new stuff to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get that basement studio going. Guys, the stuff's already been bought. I'm not trying to hold your ransom on that. We could have done like a Kickstarter or something like that, but we didn't. Please consider donating. Patreon.thesloopcast.com. It would be huge for us, and it's only $3 a month for you, and so it would just be appreciated. That's all. All right, Kyle, let's end today's show. Once again, would like to thank the Mad Canadian, well, not the Mad Canadian yet, McCaffrey for ending today's show, and also would like to thank the Mad Canadian, and I'd like to thank the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company is an Ohio-owned, an American-owned, and of course Ohio-owned, Toledo-owned, Perrysburg technically, but whatever, coffee company, a coffee roaster. They are a world-class, hand-roasted, micro-batch coffee company. It is freshly roasted to order. It does not sit around in a warehouse or on a grocery store shelf for weeks or months on end. You order it, it's roasted, it's sent to you. Period. Now, if you live in or near Toledo, you can actually even save even more time by just going and picking it up yourself. If you don't live near Toledo, know that you get free shipping on any order over $50. They have subscribe and save services. All of their beans are fair trade certified, USD organic. Let's see. It's gift cards are available. We're still in the Christmas buying season. Gift cards are available. The 6-pack sampler is still available. They have amazing coffees. They have dark roasts such as the Fear No Evil, the Integrity, the Drink from the Skull of Your Enemies, the Rocco, and the Fierce. They have medium roast such as the Rage Against the Dying of the Light, the Ride or Die, the Cast Iron, the Rocco, which is also available in a medium, the Thor, which is a medium/dark, the Loki, which is a medium/light. And they also have flavored coffees, such as a carrot cake, a blueberry, and a mint chocolate chip. All of that and more can be found at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode also brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian wants us to let you know, why haven't you gotten your special one, a case of seasonings yet?
Yeah.
You can do the Just Send It, which has the S&P Bud, the Sonoran Heat, the Cajun, and the Smoked. The Sweet Heat, which has the 4 Horsemen, the Discord, the 2-Border, and the Old Fashioned. Or you can just get the whole hog, one of each 14 seasonings that the Mad Canadian has over at the MadCanadianBBQ.com. That is the MadCanadianBBQ.com. Save even more by using the promo code SloopCast10, SloopCast10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where he has your butt covered for Christmas.
What's up, YouTube? My face, playlist. Watch all of season 6. Kyle's face. Subscribe. Had to do it one more time, huh?
I did.
It either says Buckeye Scoop over there or it says Buckeye Sloopcast over there, depending upon which channel you're watching this on. We don't care which channel you watch this on, but we would appreciate if you subscribe to both of those channels. So please be sure to subscribe both to the Buckeye Scoop and to the Buckeye Sloopcast. That would be greatly appreciated. And again, watch wherever you want. We don't care which channel you actually watch on, but please subscribe to both. Peace.